Playing standards can be complicated. Learning to play jazz over changes can be complicated. Today I'm going to show you how you can take the best licks from the best players to inform how you improvise over standards. So let's say for the sake of argument that you want to play over A Weaver of Dreams, okay? Okay, that's Weaver of Dreams. It's a popular standard. Now, you might look at those chords and start freaking out and go, oh my God, how do I improvise on all these different chords? So the first thing is, you need to learn the patterns of standards, because standards are all made up with predetermined chunks that you just bolt together in different orders. So if you look at the chords there, I'm in the key of F for tenor, you start with the home key of F. The number one rule is find what key you're in. So you look at the chords, you think, well, there's a lot of 2-5-1s in F, so I'm probably in F, and indeed you are in F, and it starts on chord 1. Then you've got this minor 2-5-1 to D minor 7. Well, is that random? No, because D minor is the relative minor of F major. So this is just a standard thing that happens in standards where you modulate to the relative minor. Then you've got a 2-5-1 in B flat, and you think, oh, I'm changing key. Well, you kind of are, and you kind of aren't. This happens in standards all the time as well. You're doing a 2-5-1 to chord 4. It's like a sort of semi-modulation, but kind of staying within the key. Then you move on to the next bar, the second bar of B, and you can see that there's an E flat 7 sharp 11. What on earth is going on with this seemingly random chord? Well, if you know what happens in standards, you'll recognize this as a backdoor dominant. Okay, which is a dominant chord, a tone beneath the root of the key that you're in. We're in the key of F. Quite often, it's preceded by a minor 7 chord to make it a 2-5, which is a backdoor 2-5-1. So if it was E flat 7, it's preceded by a B flat minor 7. And if you know your standards, you'll also know that this usually happens after a normal chord 4. So time and again in standards, you see this modulation to chord 4. In this case, we've got C minor 7, F7, B flat. And then the B flat major kind of turns into a B flat minor. Now on this chord sheet, it says E flat 7. But normally that major, B flat major, would turn into a B flat minor, then an E flat 7, and then go back to F. Now in this case, we don't go back to F because we're going to a related chord, the 3-6. And then the fourth line there, you can see G7. And you think, G7, why not G minor 7? And that's another popular device called a secondary dominant, which is a holding pattern in standards. Well, you should definitely learn your chord tones and practice and guide tones and all that stuff and get familiar with the sound of these chords. But what happens when you actually have to improvise on it? Well, we can borrow from the masters. This is taken from Sonny Rollins' solo on I Want to Be Happy on the album he did with Thelonious Monk, recorded in about 1953 or so. The key of the song is F, and this is an example of a backdoor 2-5-1 lick, which is B flat minor 7 to E flat 7. So here's the key we're actually in, the key of F, and here's what Sonny Rollins plays as a backdoor 2-5. Now, interestingly, and this is why it's so valuable to analyze what the great hardbop players did. Interestingly, he doesn't play much of an E flat 7 sound, right? If you look at it. Now you might say, okay, so it goes C, A, B flat, and then a turn. That's kind of like E flat 7 sharp 11. But really it's just delaying the minor part. Now on the way down, it looks more like a B flat minor 7 arpeggio, except the last note is wrong. It goes to a B, and that's because he resolves it to C, the next note. And there's a chromatic enclosure. So, whereas the chords are B flat minor 7, E flat 7, or on your chord sheet on A Weaver of Dreams, it might just say E flat 7. Sonny Rollins plays this great lick which really defines the sound of a backdoor 2-5, but it doesn't include many of the chord tones which you might have been practicing. You might have been going, which would also be a great sound. But there's Sonny going, and that is really hip. So what you do is you take that lick and you fly it into the standard that you're learning. So let's momentarily get rid of Sonny, bring back a Weaver of Dreams. Now we're going to throw in that lick in the second bar of B, where it says E flat 7. So let me just improvise for the first 8, and then I'll throw that lick in, and we can still resolve on C as if it was an F chord, even though it's an A minor 7, because C fits A minor 7 perfectly, okay? So here's a little example. There you go. I flew in the Sonny Rollins lick and absolutely defined the sound of that weird chord that when you're improvising, you might see that E flat 7 sharp 11 chord and go, oh my gosh, what on earth do I play on that? You might be going something like, I don't know what you do, but there's Sonny spelling it out for you. And if you actually analyze the rest of his solo on I Want to Be Happy, in that exact bar of the chord sequence, he plays the exact same lick 3 times out of 5 choruses. So 60% of the time, he plays exactly the same lick. You know, that's another story. Sometimes you just have little things to get you out of holes in the chord changes that you know, and that's okay. That's hard bop. Now, what about the rest of the chords? Okay, let's go and borrow from somebody else. This time I'm looking at Hank Mobley's solo, again, randomly placed on screen. Apologies for that. I'm graphically challenged today. So, here is Hank on If I Should Lose You. You probably know this song, if you like hard bop. Let's start with the first 2 bars. It's a 2-5-1 lick in G. Okay, awesome. Now we can use that. All we need to do is remember what key it said. And this uses a hard bop cliche where you hit the 9th of the 2 chord, the sharp 5 or flat 13 of the 5 chord, and then the 9th of the 1 chord. It's the sort of 9 sharp 5 9 cliche, okay? And Hank just kind of delays it a bit, you know, that happens a lot in hard bop. So let's remember that lick. He sang badly. Let's go back to a Weaver. Oops. Let's get rid of Sonny. Sorry about that. Right, there we go. Now, where can we use this lick? You can use that lick anywhere where there's a 2-5-1. So the first sort of main 2-5-1, not the minor 2-5-1. The first main 2-5-1 happens where you've got C minor 7, F7, B flat major. So first of all, we're in B flat major. Let's learn that lick in B flat major. That's how it goes in B flat major. I'm starting on D because it starts on the 9th. 3, 4. Right, now we can fly that into our little sequence, and we know what happens in the next bar. Remember the Sonny lick? Okay, I'm now going to improvise on the first 12 bars or so. Here we go. 1, 2, a 1, a 2, a. Right, now we're sounding like hard bop. Let's go back to Hank. Oops, not Sonny, Hank. And let's get another one. You'll see in the 3rd and 4th bar, he does a minor 2-5-1 lick. This is great. In his case, it's F sharp minor 7, B7 to E minor. But we can nick this, all right? We can nick it and we can learn what he does. So it starts on the last beat of the first bar of that 2-5, okay? So it's a 1, 2, and. You can do it without the squeak if you want. 2, 3. Okay, great. And it resolves onto a G, which is the 3rd of E minor. 1, 2, 3. Now this lick has a very important component, which is the 7th of the 2 chord going to the 5 of the 7th of the 2 chord going to the 3 of the 5 chord. Okay, 7 to 3, and it happens where the chord changes. Now this is actually a short 2-5-1, but we can just use it straight over a long one. It's fine. Let's get rid of Hank. Let's bring back Weaver of Dreams. Where have we got a minor 2-5-1? Right there in the first line. So let's learn our Hank lick, but this time a tone down in D minor, and it goes 1, 2, 3. Right. Now we've got something to play over the first 2 bars. We've got a great lick for the minor 2-5. We've got a great lick for the 2-5 to B flat, and we've got our backdoor dominant lick. Let's put it all together. 1, 2, 3. There we go. We're starting to piece this all together with some nice language. Let's now go back to Hank one more time. What else can we let's call it magpie instead of steal. What else can we magpie from Hank? We've got this next lick on the line down, which is a great example of how to do a secondary dominant going to 2 chord. What am I talking about? Let's hide Hank just for a second. Now look at the chord sequence for a Weaver of Dreams. All right, you'll see in the 1, 2, 3, 4th line down, you've got G7 for 2 bars, and then G minor 7 and C7. This is a secondary dominant move. You can quite easily turn that 2 bars of G7 into a bar of D minor 7 and a bar of G7. Okay, great. Let us, I always get the wrong, I'm always pressing the wrong blinking buttons. Right, let's have a look at Hank. Hide Weaver of Dreams for a minute. So this is what Hank does when you've got that E minor 7 to A7, which is a secondary dominant, going to A minor 7. This whole thing is a tone up from what we've got in our actual standard. But let's hear what Hank does. 1, 2, 3. Great. This is how he does the secondary dominant going to the normal 2. Awesome. We like that. Now let's learn it a tone down. That's it. It took me a second. Okay, now we'll go back to Weaver of Dreams and look at that 4th line. Instead of G7, for 2 bars, we're going to do D minor 7, G7, going to G minor 7, and we can use our lick. It's awesome. Great. So now we've got something for the minor 2-5 in the first line. We've got something for the 2-5 at the end of the second line. We've got that little weird chord covered with our backdoor dominant move. Don't worry about the A minor 7, D7 for a minute. Then we've got a lick which is going to fit the G7 going into the G minor 7. So our first 16, doing it in a sort of modular bolt together magpie system could sound like this. 1, 2, 3. Great. That sounds awesome, doesn't it? Now you really sound like you're playing hard bop. And how did we get there? We got there by just a couple of simple transcriptions. Now, if you're in my, let me go back to full screen now that I've kind of made my point here. If you're in my Inner Circle membership, plug, every month there's an inspirational solo of the month where you can find all these links with the right phrasing, refer to last week's video. If you're in the Inner Circle, you get a solo a month, you can learn it, and you can take these component licks and start plugging them into standards. Okay, I might do a video in the future, outlining some of these main famous moves that happen inside standards. It's all in my improvisation mastery course, by the way. But that is what I've got for you today. If you want another great lesson, go and check out my free Saxophone Success Masterclass. I've already mentioned the inner circle, and you can really help me out by subscribing to the channel if you like these kind of lessons. I'm really trying to deliver useful shizzle to you, okay? Useful shizzle that you can use as a sax player and an improviser for all different levels. No guff. This is solid stuff you can implement to improve your saxophone playing, because, I want the world to play saxophone better. That's my mission here at Get Your Sax Together. In case you don't know me, I'm pro saxophonist Jamie Anderson. Hope you enjoyed today's video. And until next week, where I'm going to sax up your Sunday, as I do every Sunday at 7 a.m. UK time, practice hard, practice smart, and enjoy your music. Take it easy. Sorry, my bad, I got the rhythm wrong.